All I want to know is how far is it to the top if I want to rock and roll?
That is not a Metallica song, in case you're wondering, yet they play it at the concert.
Welcome to the Purgatorious Pig Tavern podcast, the Dungeons and Dragons and beer drinking podcast. This is week 5 of our beer draft. This week we are doing ales. If you might remember, we did do an IPA specific week 1. This is ales in general, so you'll see different styles of ales across the board here that we all thoroughly enjoy. And we'll dive right in with the first round, third pick by Cole, which is New Glarus Brewing Spotted Cow.
I don't know what I can tell you that I haven't already told you. So if you're just tapping into this podcast, jumping into this episode, you're jumping in the deep end. But go back and listen to the previous episodes. We talk about Spotted Cow a lot, and we did it as one of our beers on the show. But just as a quick blurb, born and raised in Wisconsin, Spotted Cow is it's just the beer here. If you want a good craft beer, run of the mill, it is like the state beer. Yeah, I think unofficially, it's the beer to have.
I think it's official.
It's a fantastic beer.
It's
always in the fridge in Wisconsin.
I'm not going to agree to that one.
Lattes, dude.
All right, let's take it for a spin again.
So this time we got it out of the bottle, which I think we had a conversation about this earlier, which it's best. The order is best is draft, second is bottle, third is can, correct?
In general, yeah.
In general, yeah. So I had only had it out of the can before. This, it's somehow better. So it's crisp, it's clean, it abides by the Reinskebot laws.
Yep.
It's somehow wild but tamed. It's awesome. I love this beer.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly good.
See, I'm not surprised at all at how good it is. It just is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is the first, and for the longest time, the only beer that New Glarus canned. It was almost exclusively in bottles until a few years ago. And then they started canning it, and you could buy it once you got through security at the airport. I got a 12-pack for a nice $24.99.
Yeah.
In the airport?
Yeah.
Yep. So,
in Madison.
and in Milwaukee.
And
you
Milwaukee,
can take it home with you. And it's canned, though, in that way.
Yeah, 12-pack price is pretty steep, though. Pay the premium.
Yeah, I think the surprising part about it is it's a farmhouse ale, and those are usually funky and unpredictable. And this is never disappointing. It's predictably delicious. It doesn't have as much funkiness, but it's like in the background, but it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just adds to like the fruity backbone of it, which isn't really fruity, but just adds a little extra something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is a little fruity. I mean, it depends on the more beer I drink, and the more I drink of a single beer. And this is true for anything, and people probably know this if you've been drinking beer or drinking anything for long enough, consistently. But your palate's obviously different day to day, and your palate's different year to year, and your entire lifetime, right? I find sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling and what I'm eating, I definitely get like really fruity, bubblegummy type flavor out of this beer. And other times, it tastes a little more hoppy to me. So I definitely feel the fruit flavor that you mentioned.
Anything to add, Scott?
Go back and listen to our episode where we go in way more detail on this beer. Just something I'm picking up probably this time around, as you guys have kind of noted, right? It's not a super wild-y tasting farmhouse ale. It's almost cream ale-esque, almost in its smoothness. So it's pretty unique and delicious beer overall.
Shout out to cream ales from the Midwest.
Yeah, like I said, love us a good cream ale. There's no cream in
there. We
there.
have a can of pistachio from Indeed, a crowler with us as well.
I brought back a 4-pack of that from our road trip.
Oh.
With the first pick of the second round, Aaron, you chose.
I chose, you mean second pick of the first round?
First pick of the second round.
Oh, backwards. Okay. I chose Fat Orange Cat's which is local around here, jalapeno jack, and it's specifically they have 3 levels of hotness. This is the hot. They have mild, medium, and hot, and so this is the hot jalapeno jack.
Should we jump into the conversation of what's spicier, mild or medium?
I haven't tried the medium.
I haven't tried the medium yet.
Oh, I mean in general, but yeah, as far as these go.
So jalapeno jack falls into the ale category, which I think is pretty broad. And let's get into it.
You want to tell us why you chose it?
Oh, I chose this beer because I wanted something surprising in the ale category, and I thought this was a good place to put it. This is definitely has a kick to it, but it's also a clean drinking beer at the same time. So it's not like trying to be too many things at once. And I thought that it could get a good rating. I also really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. Is it not good?
No, it's fantastic. I agree with everything you said. I love jalapeno flavor. I've always loved jalapenos. Just recently, jalapenos are getting outed by habaneros for me. I love the taste of habaneros more than jalapenos lately.
Oh, yeah.
But that being said, jalapenos are awesome. And if you can incorporate them well into a beer where the beer and the jalapeno flavor live cohesively in the drink, that's pretty special. And this beer does that really well. You can taste the jalapeno, you can taste the ale. They're not mutually exclusive, so they blend really well together. And you get a little bit of the burn at the back of your throat, and I love that. As somebody who loves spicy food, the hot is the way to go because you get that little bit of burn, and it's just perfect. It's a well-made beer.
And as you drink it, this is one of the burns that builds a little bit.
Mhm.
So you get a little bit at the front end, and if you get the hot version, it builds as you drink the beer into like a perfect like low burn at the end. If you like spicy food.
Yeah,
For
I mean,
sure.
I feel like it was 2015 or so was when the major spicy beer craze went on. And back then, it was also mostly dark beers. I want to say, from what I
Yeah, I think you're right. Like the mole
yeah,
stouts.
it was always like a stout or something like that, just darker. And then that craze went away, which was kind of sad. But when we went to Extreme in 2018, it was the first time we went to Extreme, and they had a jalapeno ale there, and it just tasted like jalapenos. It was so good. But it was the first time I had a lighter one. And I just think that breweries in general should do this more often. This one in particular, though, is fantastic because you truly taste the jalapeno. It's not just like in your face spice. It's actually very flavorful.
No doubt.
And so this one, you also get the nose of the jalapeno.
Mhm.
Like you can
Mhm.
tell there is jalapeno in there as you raise a glass of this to your nose, right? You get that kind of vegetable, fresh cut jalapeno smell. The burn sits nice on the back of your tongue, back of your throat. It's not overbearing. Usually a complaint with spicy beers, kind of almost like the bourbon aged barrels, right? Some people are just adding spice to add spice and aren't trying to balance it. This one is well balanced, so it just works.
Yeah, the thing that I like the most about this is the genuine jalapeno flavor, where it's got a real dryness in it that you don't typically get with an ale like this, but it makes you kind of wanting more. So yeah,
Crave
Makes you
it.
want more.
yeah.
The
You know, like
mild,
that.
Give me more.
You know, when you get that spicy something, you just like, oh, the only thing to do is just keep eating it.
yeah.
It's like this.
Oh, yeah.
Got to keep drinking
You're making my mouth water.
it.
Yeah, the spicy, I would definitely recommend the hot version. The mild version, you taste all of the jalapeno, but you get just a hint of that spice.
Yeah.
And this satisfies that end of the craving. They're very consistent. Every batch they make is consistently at that spicy level that you're expecting, which is impressive.
I will say, no disrespect to the brewery, but I think we've had this jalapeno jack for a little while, and I gotta say, I think it toned down
It might have.
after being in the fridge for a while. I remember drinking it. We got it at the store in Connecticut and had one 20 minutes later, and it was a lot spicier than it is now. I think it kind of dulled down a little bit. Either that, or I've just been eating a lot of spicy food lately, so maybe I'm more numb.
Yeah, it's possible that mellowed out with aging, especially if it's like a actually fresh jalapeno that is used.
Should cut a fresh jalapeno and put it in there as a floater. That'd be good.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
actually
Little
that's what
jalapeno
this made me
slice.
think of in comparison to the Jalapeno from Treehouse, and that one was I mean, Treehouse does so many things so well. I just wasn't super impressed by it because you didn't get the jalapeno taste. You know, we
You
had
gotta
to
grow into
put
that one.
we had like we put jalapenos in it to get like to help bring it out, and
Yeah.
so I wasn't super impressed by that one. But you know, that's where I think that you know, it's probably not super easy to harness the flavor of a pepper in your beer, and this is just so amazing. No offense,
Also,
Treehouse, I love you. Please sponsor us.
they'll grow into it, I'm sure. But why are all orange cats seemingly fat? I had a fat orange cat growing up.
Oh, lasagna, I believe, right?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. That's it.
lots of lasagna and antagonizing the dog.
Scott, with the first pick of the third round, Scott, you chose.
I took a classic and arrogant bastard, Stone Brewing Company.
I still like your reaction to when you picked this, Scott. You were like, I can't believe this is still on the board.
Yeah, in the third round, I figured this would have gone earlier. Yeah, this is a classic OG strong ale. If you don't know about Stone, their whole motto is they don't make pissy yellow beer. That is, I think that's right on the bottle or can usually, or it was at one point at least. Everything they do is over the top hop heavy. Yeah, this is just first introduction to a super hoppy beer, and I loved it and have been a hop head since. Also, to keeping with last week's drop, I'm a professional and picked the highest ABV beer.
Yeah.
I'm a professional.
So yeah,
So I remember before you could get Stone in Connecticut, I was in college. I was 21 and I ordered it online just so I could try it because it was very hyped on all the beer forums that I was part of back in the day, back in early internet, I guess. And I had it and I remember it being one of the best beers I ever had. So then when they started selling it at the local liquor store, only a couple weeks after that, I was super excited. And this is living up to what I remember it. It's got a ton of flavor and it's a beautiful, amber color with a nice little tan head. And you got notes of caramel, you get notes of hops too, which is like the more traditional hops, not the juicy hops, kind of like piney, some earthiness. It's pretty good. Holds a special place in my heart. I know it does for you too, Scott. So good beer. Like it.
I love their advertising strategy because I was drinking this and it might put Christina over because this is not her favorite beer, but it's very bitter to me. But just like looking at it, it's a very super amber color, and drinking it, it kind of reminds me of like a Scotch ale. And I was curious if it was a Scotch ale, but no, it's just a straight up ale. But I ended up on Stone's website, and their whole like little summary thing here is like, this is an aggressive beer. You probably won't like it. It is quite doubtful that you have the taste or sophistication to be able to appreciate an ale of this quality and depth. And I feel like
That's correct at this moment in time.
I feel like that's how you feel, but it's also kind of how I feel. It's not my favorite beer. It's a great beer for like being that sophistication. It has a wide flavor profile. The thing I don't like about it is the bitterness. It has a lot of bitter, and my tongue feels dry after I drink it. And that's kind of what gets me it's why I don't like IPAs, because of the bitterness. It's a great beer, well-rounded, but for me it's not my favorite.
I like this beer, but I also like the West Coast style hops, like the bitter hops too. There's just something about it that kind of keeps me going back. It's kind of like drinking whiskey or something with an oak aged feel to it. And this doesn't have any of the aging, but it has all of the taste backbone, and it's really good. And the West Coast style is not for everybody, but if you go back to like a Russian River, Pliny, or even some of the original like IPAs up in the East Coast, this has like that and plus the caramely notes, and it's really good.
Like a harpoon.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of one of the main beers, Main Brewing, and with the pininess.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good
pininess.
beer. It's just definitely not something to drink when you're hungover.
That's fair. It's the drying. Yeah, it's definitely a dry feel to this beer, and you definitely feel like you're getting a lot for your money when you're drinking the beer.
I feel like it gets better the more you have it, though. I've taken a number of sips now, and the bitterness is kind of fading away, and I'm getting more sweet notes.
Have they changed the recipe at all over the years?
not that I'm aware of. That's not saying they haven't. I had not heard that they have. Typically, something like this, you'd hear like Boston Lager's changed a few times and you always hear about it type of thing.
Boston Lager's changed. You've changed.
You changed, man.
You're not as cool as you used to be. All you do is sit around and smoke weed.
I mean,
Actually, are you cooler than you used to be?
with the next ale was the second pick of the fourth round. Christina, you chose
Atomic Pumpkin by New Belgium. So this is one of the many variations of Voodoo Ranger. And this is the limited release that they do over Halloween time, like their pumpkin version. I just like it because it's a spicy. Again, going back to that spicy bit. I mean, pumpkin beers are definitely enjoyable in the fall, but I kind of got tired of them. And then I found this one, and again, it had that spice flavor, which I thought was kind of unique. And yeah, it is now my favorite pumpkin beer. So a little different than the rest of these, again, because we're looking more seasonal in this one. Probably not something you would enjoy on like a hot day in June, but as we dig into the fall, it's pretty good.
As I say, just in time for fall football season. It's pretty great. Pumpkin flavor really comes out, and a little bit of spice just adds kind of like just another dimension to it that makes it tasty. 2 spicy beers. Interesting.
Yeah, but it's not the same spice, right?
No, it's a lot more. It's like not. It's definitely not. It's not a lead actor.
It's very
if this were a movie.
cinnamony, I would say. It's like a pumpkin cinnamony with a spice of a little bit of spice tasting, but not like a jalapeno taste, like the jalapeno jack.
Right.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm, not sometimes I like a good pumpkin beer, but this is like this kind of reminds me of Shipyard Pumpkinhead because it's got like a very clean pumpkin flavor, less of the, pumpkin pie spices, but it does have a little bit of that, and then the kick that it has is fantastic. This reminds me of like a spicy squash or like
sweet potato?
Yeah, spicy sweet potato mash or something. This is really good.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. This is a great pick.
Yeah, it doesn't have a clove flavor like a lot of the pumpkin beers do. They kind of go overboard on your clove end, and this doesn't have that. The clove ends up like taking over and all the flavor, and this doesn't have that at all. This is really good. This is a challenging round because of how many different styles the ale covers.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. So this is really good. And the pumpkin, I like how the sweetness of the pumpkin comes through. Oh, and then the spice comes after that.
Does it say what spice it is?
Just says pumpkin, cinnamon, and chilies.
Oh, chilies. There we go.
This one's pretty crisp and clean ale. Yeah, you do get a little bit of burn from the chilies. I know a lot of, if I hadn't read the can and Cole, if you didn't say it had chilies in it, I would have assumed most of the spice was coming from the cinnamon almost. It's like teetering that line of being too much cinnamon, but it's like just that right amount, so you kind of get that burn. If people remember back in the day, the cinnamon spoon challenge.
Oh, God.
Oh my gosh.
I saw someone do it at work.
What, really?
Yeah.
Not surprising.
Yeah. It was pretty ridiculous.
Not surprising.
He's like, I stole this from the cafeteria and I'm going to do the cinnamon challenge. And I was like, why? And he's like, I don't know. I don't think it could be that hard. And I was like, don't do it, please.
Also, the worst cinnamon possible to do it with. Mixed with
seriously.
cardboard.
So yeah, this is definitely one if I'd probably go for again if it's readily like when it's available.
Yeah, Christina's all about it. Obviously, it was her pick. She's all about it when it comes out during the season. So we drink a lot of it. I should probably drink more of it, honestly. It's good.
This is really good. I like this a lot.
Just drink
I mean,
more.
I feel like it's definitely, again, it's not something like obviously a year round, but because it's only really around in September, it's usually all gone by October. But you drink enough of it to enjoy it, and then it's gone before you really get sick of it.
That's a good
Like
distinction.
I
too.
really liked pumpkin. I used to drink that.
Yes.
Who is that? Southern Tier, and I drank
Yep.
shit out of that. Honestly, one year, and it was the year that they just brewed too much of it, so it was around until I want to say like February, and I continued to drink it, and I can't get any more because of that.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, you mentioned Shipyard. I like the.
Go back and listen to our Halloween episode from last year where we talked about both of those beers.
Yeah, all the pumpkin beers. We didn't hit this one, but we definitely hit those two. It's a great episode too. So if you haven't heard it, go listen to it.
All right. I'll do that. All right. With the
Of all people, Eric hasn't listened to it.
Yeah, not 40 times in a row. All right, with the last ale that we're doing today, because nobody's flexing today. The last ale was my pick, which fell all the way to the fourth pick of the sixth round, and I chose Bell's Two Hearted Ale, which I chose that because it constantly is rated like the best beer in America, and I couldn't believe that it fell that far. And you okay?
No, I pull the beer. I don't mean to interrupt your intro. I pull the beer out of the cooler, and it's like a.
Meanwhile, I
how
cannot
size is
drink
this
very much
can?
right now. I am so incredibly hungover.
The can is 19.2 fluid ounces.
Biggest can
And
of
I
craft
pull it out and
beer
I
I've
set it
ever
right
seen.
here, and Christina looks at it and she's like, "Whoa!" Her eyes like bulge out, and then I pull up our camera, and as we're recording, the only thing you can see is the top of this can, above all the other cans that are in front of us.
Apparently, more breweries are trying to switch to that size can for some reason. I don't know why.
Less aluminum, right? Because if you're gonna drink one, you might as well drink 1.5. I don't
It
know.
is the biggest can of craft beer I've ever seen.
That's the concert size, right?
Is this
Competing
the
with.
size Lars gets?
All right.
Yeah, so I chose this beer because it constantly is rated the number one beer in America, rated by industry experts. And I don't know, I felt like it's a pretty good ale to sneak in there and try. I'm a little surprised that the can says IPA on it, but
Yeah, I was just gonna say, hold up.
I thought it said
'Cause
ale.
it's always
but-
been Two Hearted Ale.
Yeah, but I guess
As long as I can remember.
I guess I screwed up and it's
Did
an
they
IPA now?
change
Well,
their?
Indian pale ales are ales in the
I
name.
mean, we had this discussion, right, when we were talking about our category, is how pretty much everything is either an ale or a lager.
Right. Or then you get into your stouts, which could be a stout or a porter.
But
Yeah,
they're all
right.
ales.
They're all ales or lagers. So
Yeah.
yeah, our ale and lager weeks were kind of our catch-all weeks of like, hey, we want to draft this beer. Let's create those 2 weeks, right? So obviously you could take IPAs, right? I think most people would think Arrogant Bastard's an IPA when it's a strong ale, but right, people associate Stone with IPAs, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with taking an
Real
IPA
quick,
this
you
week.
like look at what we picked before we even get into this, right? So that's an IPA. I chose a pumpkin ale. We have a farmhouse ale. We have an actual ale, and we have a strong ale. Like this is like the greatest variety of
It really is.
choices here. It's pretty. This has been fun.
Yeah, if you
Just
look at
got
our
my
bench
stomach.
spots for the spots that weren't flex, just to round it out, right? I picked an IPA.
Zombie Dust
Zombie
is,
Dust is
Yep.
an
I
IPA.
think.
Mm.
Is it?
Pretty 95% sure.
Well, and
I
then
think
you
it's a
have
pale
Great
ale.
Divide, the car camper, which is your pick, Christina.
That's
Right,
a
that was
hazy
a
ale.
hazy
Pale ale.
Hazy pale
Hazy
ale.
ale.
Might as well.
What's River West Stein?
It's almost like an amber
Amber.
so- ale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, closer to a lager maybe, but it's called an ale.
Big range.
I will say I was gonna draw the parallelism to Roger having an IPA, dabble in the ale when we have an IPA category. It's like that dude on the Saints. I'm blanking on his name right now. The tight end.
Taysom Hill,
Yeah.
right? The tight end
Taysom
quarterback
Hill.
wide receiver.
Yeah. Taysom Hill. Yep.
Who wants to get paid like a quarterback but has like 3 throws in his NFL career.
Yeah, exactly,
okay.
exactly. Well, he could be a QB or a tight end. You know, you put him in as a tight end, and accidentally he plays as a QB for half a game or something. I don't know. That's like accidentally flexing a little fantasy football there. I don't know.
Yeah,
That time
yeah.
of year.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
I don't know. It is that time of year.
It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Two Hearted has quickly become a household name for beer, especially Ben Bell's Brewing Associated. But you can almost go to any bar in the area, and if they have more than 6 taps or 10 taps, they're probably going to have Two Hearted available, or at least have cans of it available. It is,
True.
as Roger said, has over the last few years been rated the top beer, if not top 5 beers brewed in America. It's very consistent, very easily a go-to beer if you go into a liquor store and not sure what you want to grab. You reach for this, you know what you're getting, and it's
When
delicious.
did Bell's come to the East Coast too? Right, that was recent. That was within the last probably like 5 years or so. Like they didn't used to distribute that far.
Yeah.
No, it was definitely before the pandemic.
Mhm. but not too much.
Not
Oh
too
my
much
gosh, I
before,
cannot
so.
believe that was already.
Those are lost years. Don't worry about it.
Pre and post pandemic is how we
Yeah.
refer to time now.
I feel somewhat slighted by it saying IPA on the can because I grew up with it being Two Hearted Ale. Like
Same.
that's what you called it, you know? So it's just weird that it says IPA. I don't know if that was a political position or you know, someone came in and they're like, this is how we define an IPA, and they're like, oh shit, we fall in that category now. But regardless, quick Bell's story. It's not really a story. It's more of just a thing that happened. So my mom and I used to do, for the Great Taste of the Midwest, we would do the video cast where we would walk around and I had the camera. My mom would interview different brewers. We kind of alternated. And the last year that I did that with her, Bell's had a like mini yacht that they trailered into the Great Taste of the Midwest, and they were handing out all this swag. So I had like a Bell's captain hat, and we got a bunch of different koozies and things like that. But they had like this big mini yacht boat on a trailer parked like in a park, and they were hanging out, playing music, partying. It was kind of a funny thing, but it kind of just goes to show the takeover Bell's has had in the Midwest. It's a great brewery. We went there, we visited the brewery. We made it a destination stop for us on our way from Connecticut to Wisconsin once. It's great brewery, great beer. I mean, it's a flagship for a reason. It's a great beer.
What is the Taste of the Midwest?
Great Taste of the Midwest. It's a big beer festival in Madison, right by the Atlanta Energy Center at don't at me for forgetting the name of the park because we just moved back home, but it's the park across from the Atlanta Energy Center. And it's 100, 200 breweries show up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll have to figure that out. Get you guys out here.
Detroit Free Press in December of 2022 said Bell's is expanding its Two-Hearted portfolio, a move that includes a slight tweak to the label of one of America's most beloved craft beers. They released a new Hazy Hearted IPA, a hazy version of the Two-Hearted IPA, and a Hearted IPA variety pack that will include another release exclusive to the pack, Big Hearted, which is an imperial IPA at 9.5%.
Sounds like alcohol.
So it sounds like when they expanded the label or the branding, they also then changed it from an ale to an IPA. But from what I'm reading, it's saying it's the same beer, and now it's really depending on the bar that you go to, whether it's labeled as ale or IPA. But it's the same
tap
thing.
They have
Whatever new merch they picked up. Yeah.
Yeah. How old's your tap handle, right?
I can see the label change because, right, just knowing different beer profiles, right? This is very similar to 60 Minute.
It is.
And if they've released an Imperial, that's probably their take on trying to compete with 90. So this is definitely very much in that flavor profile of like a 60 Minute IPA. So I can see like it probably should have been called an IPA. It could have been a marketing decision to just brand themselves as an ale to not compete in the super saturated IPA market until they establish themselves. And then you don't like, you almost don't pick up that they rebranded as an IPA. You just see Two Hearted and Have a Nice Day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
It also might be like before anyone actually gave a shit if it was an ale or an India Pale Ale. There was like six good beers to choose from, and that was
Actually,
one.
yeah,
Right.
when we were flying out of LaGuardia, this is when I know they didn't distribute it in the East Coast, but it was like right around when they started distributing that far. We were flying out of LaGuardia, walked through security, and they had literally nothing there. And we got there so early before our flight, so we literally left security because there was a bar right on the other end. We sat down, and they had, what did they have on tap? It was like Blue Moon and kind of just all of your more like macro
Basics.
craft beers. Yeah.
Mhm.
But the bartender was super pumped that they had Bell's Two Hearted. And he's like, if you like IPAs, you got to drink this. Like, it's so amazing. And I'm like, yeah, well, we're from the Midwest. We've had it before. But he thought it was like the greatest thing ever because most people out there hadn't had it yet.
I do remember that. After you mentioned that, I don't remember us leaving the terminal, but yeah, now that you mentioned that, I do remember the guy being like, "Yeah, we got Two Hearted," and we were like, "Cool."
It was really the only. No, it was the only like full flavored beer really that they had on tap.
Hey, Blue Moon's solid.
tasting notes wise, this is the closest thing to Arrogant Bastard of anything we've tasted. It's on the same
Hop plane.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But not
blend,
as
ABV.
strong. So it's a little drying, but same ABV, but less punchiness. Just as Arrogant
Yeah.
Bastard would like it.
Yeah,
See?
same feedback as an Arrogant Bastard. It's a beer that you drink if you're planning on being hungover, not a beer to drink when you're hungover.
No one plans on being
Unless you're
hungover.
not a professional.
Right.
Is a professional another way of saying you're an alcoholic?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if this is the right forum to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. I went to there's OPE Brewing in Wisconsin, and they have a little they have a big big brewing area that they turned into also an event space in Milwaukee. And I went there, and they have a beer. So their lager, I don't even remember what they call it. She told me. I don't remember what it was called. It says just beer. It's a white can, just says beer on the side of it. And I was at the brewery, and I'm like, I love this beer. Like, it's a good beer. It's great. And I wanted to drink that on tap. So I go there, and I go up to the bartender, and I'm like, yeah, it's a can. It just says beer. She's like, these are all beers. I'm like, yes, but the can, it just says beer. She's like, it's all beer. And I'm like, no, it's like a lager, but it says beer. She's like, they all say beer. She's like, listen. I felt like such an idiot because I didn't know what it was. 'Cause it doesn't say anywhere on the can. It's just a white can. It says beer. I'm like, what is that? And she's just like, they're all beer. And I was just like, thanks, lady.
Thanks. Helpful.
So when Christina said, it's a beer. Just like, it's a beer.
All right, we will quickly go through the scores, and then I'll give a recap of who won the week, then updated standings after week 5. So, Spotted Cow, Rozier.
I gave it a 20.
All right, Christina, Aaron,
I gave it a 20.
and I'm giving it a 19, which gives a total of 79. Almost a perfect score.
Let's go.
Next up is Jalapeno Jack. Eric,
20.
Cole,
20.
Yes.
Christina. I'm giving it an 18, so that's a 7.
Oh, Scott's a tough critic.
Yeah. This is a hard one to score, honestly. I had to go back and be like, am I going too high on all of
Erin's
these?
the only one who hasn't used her flex yet, so she's gonna sneak up on all of us with these
Yeah.
points. And we
Yep.
just handed it to her.
Doubtful.
All right, next up is Arrogant Bastard that I picked. Eric,
19.
Cole,
16.
17.
Christina, Aaron,
19.
71. Probably going to lose some ground this week. Christina's pick of Voodoo Ranger's Atomic Pumpkin. Eric,
19.
Cole,
18.
Aaron,
19.
and I'm giving it a 19, 75. I think that's enough for Christina to leapfrog me in the overall standings now. And then
It's getting heated.
for Two Hearted Ales, Eric's pick, Cole,
17.
Christina,
17.
Aaron.
18.
I'm giving it a 19.
71.
All right, so this week's standings are Cole winning the week with 79. So that is
Nice.
New Glarus Spotted Cow. I think that's the new high ranking for overall ranking, knocking out the
Fundamental observation.
Oh, yeah. That was a good beer, though.
Jalapeno Jack Hot Fat Orange Cat coming in second with Aaron there. It's 78 points. Christina's pick of Voodoo Ranger Atomic Pumpkin, 75 points. And then a tie between Two Hearted and Arrogant Bastard. Eric's in my pick with 71 points. Updating rankings after week 5. Eric is still in first with a total of 433 points. Cole is in second with 430 points, making up some ground though this week.
Yeah. Let's go.
Christina is now in third with 417 points. I am in fourth with 416 points. Erin is at 361, but she has not used her flex spot, so that's a possible 80 points still in the bank for Erin, which would bring her right into the hunt if she earns all 80 of those. So we'll see when she decides to pull that trigger and get those points.
Yeah.
Still have a lot of
It's a
ground.
pretty close game right now.
It really is. I mean, we kind of went pretty high with all the beers we picked. I don't think any of us got too exotic, besides my Blue Moon pick.
What do we have
Exotic.
left? Real quick.
So we have porters and Belgians
Yeah.
Oh my
to
gosh.
go.
Belgians.
And that is probably going to
Oh.
be the week Aaron flexes. So be ready to drink a lot of Belgian beers.
We will
That'll
get
be a rough
babysitter.
week.
There you go.
I love Belgian beer.
Well, thank you for listening to the Purgatorious Pig Tavern Beer Draft Special Week 5. Stay tuned for our coming weeks. This has been a Widgety Widgets production.
Yeah.
Yeah.